This is ancient Egypt's most preserved temple, the Temple of Hathor, located in the Dendera complex. It is by far one of the most stunning temples of ancient Egypt that you can visit today. The temple is located on a 1-hour drive north of Luxor, on the west bank of the Nile. And I'll be honest, there's a very few temples that took my breath away as much as this one. But it's also one of the temples that has the most going on within it. I have uploaded a 360 virtual reality tour of this temple on my channel, so do check it out. We're actually very lucky to still be able to experience this beautiful Egyptian blue on the ceilings. From years of various people living within the temple, the ceilings were covered in black soot, which you can see here in that small black square. However, through a lot of experiments and testing, a special solution was put together to be able to clean these ceilings while still preserving the paint underneath them. The depictions on the ceiling depict the cosmos, but of course in the Egyptian style, and they talk about the birth of day and night, and the passing of the years. Now, if you're planning to go to Luxor and take a Nile cruise, you have to know that this temple will not be included. So if you do wish to visit it, you need to make private arrangements for this one. Now, this temple sits on the newer side of the Egyptian timeline, meaning it's from the Ptolemaic period, which is pretty much towards the end of ancient Egypt. However, there is plenty of evidence to suggest that this temple actually existed from the time of the Middle Kingdom, and that about 800 years worth of work has gone into it. And unlike a lot of other Egyptian temples, there are plenty of hidden rooms and crypts within this one. This is me in one of them right now. And of course, one of these hidden rooms contains the famous Dendera light depiction, which I've spoke about before. Now, I call it the Dendera light because that's what it's known as, but it's not obviously a light. The depiction actually talks about the birth of the god Horus, or Hor Samatawi, as it says on the wall. Some of these crypts can be quite difficult to get into with very small entrances, and can feel a bit claustrophobic, so be warned. In the times of the ancient Egyptians, these crypts would have held various statues dedicated to various gods. What's also very cool about this temple is that you can go upstairs onto the roof, and when you go up there, you will see this. This is a replica of the original Dendera Zodiac, which is now located in France in the Louvre. And honestly, it made me really sad to see that the temple is missing this one piece, and that the Egyptians have had to put a fake one there instead. Now, I can't begin to explain to you how big this temple actually is, and there's more to it than just the actual temple itself. There is an entire complex to explore, as you can see here from the outside, including that small building over there, which is known as the birthing house. I'll explain that in another video. What's also very interesting about the design is that there's a staircase that spirals and a staircase that goes straight down. And what also makes this temple very unique is the style in which it's decorated in. In the Ptolemaic period, which is towards the end of ancient Egypt, there was a real emphasis on putting as much information as possible on the walls. And this is partially down to the fact that the ancient Egyptian priests were afraid, due to the foreign rulers being there, that the knowledge was going to be lost, that the future generations would not know how to perform rituals and the necessary prayers. So unlike in ancient Egyptian temples that were built by the native Egyptians, these Ptolemaic temples tend to have a lot of detail on the walls. You could almost say it's a step-by-step guide on various rituals. And as I said, this was done to preserve the knowledge. Now, you'll hear a lot of people call this temple the Temple of Dendera, but this is incorrect. It is the Temple of Hathor, located at Dendera. And we can see here at the top of all the columns the face of the goddess Hathor. So how much is it going to cost you to visit this place? You'll be glad to know, not very much. There are 2 tickets you need to purchase, one to enter the temple and another one to go on the roof. If you buy them both, it's going to be less than $10. However, of course, if you go with a tour company, expect to pay much more, as you'll have a guide with you. I would also highly recommend going for a walk around the temple on the outside. You will see plenty of depictions of various kings talking about themselves, including one of the depictions of Cleopatra VII, which is the one we all know about. The ancient Egyptians used the outside of temples as a bit of a propaganda poster, because this is where the public would mainly be. The pharaoh would normally put depictions of himself making offerings to the gods, and the gods being pleased with him, to show his divinity to the common man. This part that's smashed up would have been the face of the goddess Hathor in gold, where the commoners could come and make offerings to her, which is located right at the back of the temple. What's also very cool about this temple is that it had a drainage system up on the roof, and the running water would come out of the mouths of these lions at the top. And we also know that the Romans were using this temple at some point, because in 2023 an excavation found a Roman sphinx. And of course, when I say Roman sphinx, it is an Egyptian sphinx depicting a Roman emperor. So although this temple isn't necessarily on everyone's programs when going into Luxor, I do highly recommend you try and make some time for it, or find a way to get yourself there. But for those of you who can't make it, then you have my channel to explore the temple fully with. Just don't forget to set the resolution to 4K when watching it.